These are Malian soldiers in Kidal. They've been stripped of their uniforms and are being held as prisoners of war by Tuareg separatists.
On the 25th of April, something big happened in Africa. Mali, to be precise. It wasn't a coup. It wasn't an election. It was bigger than that. Something far more devastating. Let's dive in. Now, who is Mali's secret backers? On April 25th, Mali was rocked by a deadly militant attack that reportedly killed senior militant figures, including a commando linked to the country's defense leadership, and that is Mr. Kamara, the defense minister. What happened next shocked observers across Africa and beyond. Russia responded fast and hard. Now, a much bigger question is emerging. Was this simply another terrorist attack in the Sahel, or part of a deeper geopolitical war being fought in the shadows? Tonight, we look at growing claims surrounding foreign involvements, the accusations pointing towards Ukraine and lingering influence of France in its former colony, and why Mali has suddenly become one of the most dangerous battlegrounds in the fight for influence in Africa. Because this story is no longer just about militants in the desert. It is about power, influence, and a silent war between global players using Africa as the battlefield. And even if part of these allegations are true, then what happened in Mali could expose a much larger international operation unfolding behind the scenes. So what really happened?
These are Malian soldiers in Kidal. They've been stripped of their uniforms and are being held as prisoners of war by Tuareg separatists. We've concealed their faces for their safety and to protect their identities. He introduces himself as a paramilitary soldier. Another says he's an army officer. This one says he's a policeman. He says the wounded are receiving care in hospital, but we were not allowed to film inside the hospital. The Liberation Front of Azawad, known as the FLA, says it respects human rights and does not target civilians. But after
JNIM and FLA fighters joined forces, and JNIM fighters drove a suicide vehicle into Sadio Kamara's residence, killing him, his wife, and his grandchildren. A tragic end to a military defense minister who is sworn to protect the country, and militants have joined forces using sophisticated weaponry and drones to attack different locations from different angles and from different forces. And then it begs the question, who is behind this? Because no military group who lives in the desert, who lives in the bushes, would have such sophistication and coordination in order to launch such massive coordinated attack unless there is some advanced military country behind it. And the question is, who was really behind the attack? Well, Mali Foreign Minister seems to have the answers.
As you have already learned through the government's official statements, Mali was the victim on Saturday, April 25th, 2026, of complex, coordinated, and planned terrorist attacks with both internal and external sponsors against several cities in our country. These attacks caused casualties, both civilian and military, among whom was the late Army General Sadio Kamara, Minister of State, Minister of Defense and Veterans Affairs, whose passing was detailed in the Transitional Government Statement dated April 26, 2026. In his memory and in memory of all the victims of these barbaric and terrorist attacks, I would like to invite you to observe a minute of silence.
But that moment of silence and pause lasted longer than just a minute, 5 minutes, or even 10 minutes. It lasted a few days before the alliance Burkina Faso, Niger and Mali combined launch their scathing attack on to the militants and crush them to a certain degree using air power and continually fighting them. But why Russia crushed the militants, and who was really behind the attack? I mean, there has been reports that France wanted uranium because uranium is precious commodities, and they've lost control of Mali and not able to get cheap uranium. Some are saying that Ukraine, partnered with France, has also played a vital role in this coordinated attack, and therefore that's one of the reasons why they were called up as a nation that had geopolitical interests in destabilizing the government in Mali in order to profit from resources. Russia also has strategic interests in the country and therefore offer protection to which France failed for many years, which was one of the reasons why they were kicked out of the country. And now Russia has taken over the country and offer its own protection, which appears to be more stable and more sophisticated and effective than what France had offered or failed to offer, having stayed there for many years.
Fighting was intense for several days. Both ground forces and the Air Force were deployed to their full capacity, with the Air Force operating intensively both day and night, targeting militant concentrations and preventing them from gathering and concentrating in the capital. After 2 days of intense fighting, the militants issued a statement proposing a ceasefire and calling for a cessation of hostilities on our part. We have been in the area for over a year. A great deal of work has been carried out during this time, both in terms of organizing the work on the ground to develop a network of forward operating bases, training personnel, and establishing cooperation with the Malian armed forces and the local population. So,
now, who is Mali's secret backer? Who is actually backing the rebels, the militant fighters, for them to launch such coordinated attack?
it is no longer a secret that there are Ukrainian instructors in Mali, as well as French instructors, because radio intercepts reveal both Ukrainian and French being spoken. They are communicating with one another. Polish has also been heard. We are therefore well aware that military personnel from these countries are present in Mali. They are coordinating their actions and providing training, amongst other things. So, this is now an indisputable fact.
And now it's over to you. Are we seeing France strategically try to recolonize Mali because it is now unable to get its hands on the precious minerals to which it so desire? Are we also seeing a proxy war between Ukraine and Russia, backed by France, targeting particularly Russia forces in the region? How do you feel about the response that the Sahel 3-state combined are pushing back the militants and hitting them back hard? Would love to hear from you, so sound off in the comment section and let's have a discussion and a debate. So I'd like to thank you very much for your time, and I shall see you on the other topic.